when I read the script, if it's in front of me, I can hear Madeleine. I can hear her. I know how I love her sound, and I know how she sounds. So I can pretty much hear the way that she would give me a line for me to understand. And then Kat, they have this thing, this back and forth that's just kind of magical.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Roz is basically Cake.
Thank you.
So usually we'll end up using like outtakes, like Roz is like commenting on something that didn't make sense in the story, or like, hesitate. Like, oh yeah, that's funny.
My isms. My
Yeah.
Roz isms.
I can tell this crowd is really excited about Fiona and Cake Season 2. I wanted to start with something, Madeleine, that you actually mentioned to me backstage, which was that this was your first time seeing the full episode. You know, when you guys are doing the voices, you have the script, obviously, you have maybe some storyboards or whatever, but maybe just to start off, talk about what it's like to see, you know, all your efforts finally come together and see the finished episode.
I normally receive a storyboard that I just hit the forward key on and try to watch it, like animate it myself on my computer. But yeah, I'm really moved to see it, honestly. I hear your voices in my head when I'm reading the script, and it's very different to see it in full color.
Awesome. Well, obviously this crowd is here because they're so excited about Season 2, but I think they're also here because they loved Season 1 so much. And so I kind of wanted to start for you, Adam, Madeleine, and Roz. If you want to talk about how you felt about kind of the fan reaction to Season 2. You know, when did you know you were ready to continue the story in Season 2?
After the first series aired and it got good enough numbers, they said, you guys should do a Season 2. And I said, we're ready. No, I mean, it's hard because you have to design shows that can function as like in a complete end, but then also leave enough plot things that you can kind of pay off later. But it's just kind of the reality of a new streaming model. So we had plans, but you have to not have them too invested in them yet, because you might not get that.
Totally, and I think Season 1 told a complete story that even if you guys hadn't been able to continue would have been satisfying, but you left some threads to keep pulling on.
Yeah, that's the goal. It's kind of a frustrating way.
And Madeleine, Roz, what did you guys think of the fan response to Season 1? What did you hear about it?
I was very happy about it because I was looking forward to Season 2, and I'm still looking forward to Season 3. But I was happy because this is one of the cartoons that I've done that this character, I love her. Yeah. And I love my Maddie, my Fiona. I like their relationship. And okay, baby. But I was very happy.
Awesome. What about you, Madeleine?
I mean, always ready.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I've sort of grown up with Fiona, and I feel like we've reached a point where a lot of my life experiences are becoming embedded in Fiona's character, and so I was really excited to keep that experience going.
Awesome. Well, Ashly, I wanted to bring you in. You've actually worked on Adventure Time, I think, for years, both as a writer and as a voice actor. But what was exciting for you about taking on the role of Huntress Wizard this season when she has, I think it's clear even in this first episode, she's going to have such a major role this season?
It was so exciting because, you know, Huntress Wizard is a legacy character and she's been in the show for so long, and it was really cool to see that she has a larger role. And also, I think this is a really fun way to bring her in because the world she comes from and the world that these two come from right now is so different. Yeah, so I was a little nervous, but mostly very excited.
Awesome. And yeah, jumping off that, you know, Season 1 was kind of this multiverse odyssey. We were jumping between a lot of different realities, seeing a lot of different versions of characters that we knew and loved. But this season, you know, based on this first episode and continuing, is a little more focused, a little more direct about the intersection between the Land of Ooh, where Huntress Wizard comes from, and Fiona and Cake's world. So Adam, what was kind of interesting about narrowing the scope down to just the, more directly the interplay between these two worlds?
A lot of it is because Fiona is so intrinsically linked to Finn. So, we wanted to make sure that we were honoring that connection. So we have like sort of two storylines going throughout this season. Okay. And it's also like we could have just done, okay, this episode, this season is also just multiverse hopping. But at some point, it's like diminishing returns to just try to show AUs over and over again. So we wanted to make sure that element of it we used in a way that was different than season one. Because obviously we still go to ooh a lot in this season, but sort of the stakes there are different than the stakes in Fiona world.
Totally. Ashly, back to you, because I know and love Huntress Wizard from one of my favorite episodes of the original series, Flute Spell, which is kind of her focus episode. But here we have, she's kind of one of the major players of this season. It's her longest storyline yet. Loving the positivity out here. So what was it like for you to kind of, because one of the differences between Fiona and Cake and the original show is that, all right, is that the episodes are longer, we have a little more time with the characters. So what was fun for you to kind of breathe life into Huntress Wizard in kind of her longest storyline yet, even though, as you said, she's a legacy character and stuff?
I think what's really fun about it is that you get to see her relationship with Finn more, or at least how she feels about it. And I think that's a storyline that people really responded to from Adventure Time. So it's cool to get to spend more time with it and see how she is in that relationship, because obviously, like Adventure Time, it's very much from Finn's perspective.
Right.
So getting it to be from Huntress Wizard's perspective, and then seeing how, she interacts with Fiona and Cake and how she goes on her own journey with them in terms of maybe trying to be less of a loner and trying to be less like stoic and I can do it all by myself. So it's cool, I think, to see that relationship from her perspective and what she brings to it, and also what keeps her from investing in it maybe in the way that she should.
Totally. And, it's interesting because we do have this great romantic history between Finn and Huntress Wizard, but as the theme sequence for season 2 is Teasing, and the key art now, Huntress Wizard is going to be interacting with Fiona a lot, who we know is kind of started as a version of Finn, but I think we saw in season 1 that it's not exactly one-to-one. So Madeleine, what can you tease maybe about what Fiona will make of Huntress Wizard?
What can I tease? Oh, okay. Yes, Fiona and Huntress are entwined, and their relationship literally sprouts after an episode of self-loathing and Fiona feeling really worthless.
I think we see at the end of episode 1 that both Fiona and Huntress Wizard are kind of in a dark place. They're both kind of faced with problems they don't know how to solve. And so, maybe they'll be able to help each other out, bring a different perspective. I wanted to ask all three of you, did you ever get, how often do you get the chance to voice record with each other, or is it always kind of like a on your own thing?
It's mostly mine have been on my own. Madeleine and I have been Zooming. We've Zoomed.
Oh, good.
But most of them have been on my own.
So then, especially when you're on your own, Roz, how do you kind of get into Cake mindset? And how do you get into Cake's headspace for these great lines?
Do you stretch a lot?
I stretch a lot. No, I can, when I read the script, if it's in front of me, I can hear Madeleine. I can hear her. I know how I love her sound. And I know how she sounds, so I can pretty much hear the way that she would give me a line for me to understand. And then Kat, they have this thing, this back and forth that's just kind of magical.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Roz is basically Cake.
Thank you.
So usually we'll end up using like outtakes, like Roz is like commenting on something that didn't make sense in the story, or like, hesitate. Like, oh yeah, that's funny.
My isms. My
Yeah.
isms.
Awesome. Adam, I wanted to ask you a little bit about magic, because that was something that was obviously a big part of Adventure Time. It's a fantasy show, And in the original series, we saw a lot of the different ways that magic works, whether it's the Ice King's crown or the wizards who swim in the Loomy Gloom and stuff. But even in this first episode, I feel like we're seeing so much more of kind of Huntress Wizards specific kind of nature magic. And I think we're going to be seeing, continuing that thread through the rest of the season. So what was interesting or fun about revisiting magic kind of from a different angle than the original show did?
I mean, you want me to explain the magic system?
I guess just like kind of tackling new dimensions to it, right?
Well,
With, like,
usually
nature magic.
the wizards on our show are like super depressed.
Right.
And they all have like a deep neuroses that's driving their magic. So I think we kind of kept that and treated magic like, oh, it's very cool, but also the people who practice it, something is intrinsically wrong with them
Right.
a little bit. But we did use that as a way to kind of explore Huntress Wizard's own approach to magic and sort of her tutelage in it. So as the episodes go on, you kind of see why she pursued magic in the first place. So it just was another aspect that we weren't really able to use in season 1. It was just something else to explore.
Awesome. And Ashly, when you were recording, did you, like Madeleine mentioned, like storyboards and stuff? Did you kind of have a reference point for the visuals of Huntress Wizard's magic? Because I think we see in this episode, she does so many different kinds of cool things and almost has her own aesthetic to herself. Did you have kind of a reference to go off of when?
Yeah, the great thing about working in animation is that often you'll have the storyboards of every moment in the show available in the booth so you can see what's happening. And that's very useful, especially with Huntress Wizard, who can do like 90,000 different things. I think she like turns into 4 different things in that episode alone. But yeah, as Adam was saying, it's cool because there's a lot of backstory that we go into with Huntress Wizard. We find out where her magic comes from and also the danger of it, which is interesting. That's a really cool through line that stays through Adventure Time, that it is a dangerous thing to use magic. But yeah, thankfully, I could see what was happening, and it wasn't just our director being like, and now you turn into an eagle. I'm like, how? What? Huh?
Totally. And, I think one of the interesting things from the ending of season 1 is that Fiona and Cake's world stayed kind of normal. Like magic was not restored to that world on the same level. And I love the opening of this episode where we see, how they're doing, and it's just, by all accounts, a normal world, except Cake is there, and she can stretch and shapeshift and stuff. And then, their biggest problem is, a relatable real-world problem, that they're getting evicted, they're getting kicked out. Madeleine, can you talk a little bit about what Fiona's struggling with this season? Both, it's Adventure Time, there's going to be magical problems and stuff, but also these very real-world problems that are stressing her out, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about Adventure Time in general has been that just like in real life, we're always trying on different personas to find our most authentic self. Fiona is trying on different personas this season to find her most authentic self, while also trying to make rent and keep a job and date people.
Yeah, that was a big debate actually at the end of the first season. We were like trying to figure out how magical to make the world, because if it was completely like Ooh, it felt like that's just another Ooh basically, or if Cake should stay a stretchy cat at the end, or if it felt too mean to take that away from her at the end. So we tried to incorporate that into this season. Like, she is like one of the anomalous magical things in a world that's not really magic. And how does she fit in there? Because at first it just seems great. She's got all the power in the world, but she's not really a cat anymore. And she's not a woman, though she can look sort of like a woman. So
She's an enigma.
yeah. So what is her place in this version of Fiona World?
Yeah. And Adam, I wanted to ask you, because you've been kind of one of the stewards of Adventure Time for the last couple years, and And I've just always been curious, the flagship show came to an end in 2018 with a truly incredible 4-part finale that we got some follow-up on in season 1. What has been the journey from that to Fiona and Cake season 2? Like, did you guys kind of have a grand plan of how you were going to continue it, or does it just kind of go organically?
I mean, there's been like 3 mergers and
Yeah,
management changes since then. So I feel like any plan you had in place would not bear through all those. I think it's mostly been just kind of looking at the world we've established and then trying to find ways to tell stories with it that don't step on the original series and also can get greenlit. So there's like a practicality to it, but also, yeah, I feel like you can't actually have a master plan anymore because we don't get those kind of orders anymore.
Totally. But speaking of that, what is interesting, because obviously the show's called Fiona and Cake. There are lead characters, but hey, we're checking in with Finn. We start the episode with Marceline and Bubblegum looking so domestic. But we also have a crisis facing Finn. He's really in bad shape. So what's interesting for you about kind of mixing new and old characters, including characters who, in some ways reach their happy ending at the original show? What's the balance of introducing new storylines for them or checking in with them while also, keeping the original show what it was?
Well, that specific thread we had kind of set up in season 1, where if you had seen it, something kind of disturbing happens to Finn, and maybe it gets paid off or it's just a gag, but we kind of leave it as a thread that could be picked up on. And it's always like, what haven't they done before, and what would feel like repeating an episode that we did in season 5? It's always like treating lore as not something that we have to check all the boxes, but as something that is just their backstory at this point now.
Right.
So if you haven't seen the original series, you could probably start on season 1 and understand what's going on. If you start watching season 2 and you haven't watched season 1, you probably won't know what's going on. But yeah, it kind of presented this access point where the entire original series is basically the backstory of Fiona and Cake. And I don't know, it's really hard for me not to want to revisit those characters, even in a minor way, to show what their lives are. Because they had a semi-happy ending, but also, time keeps moving. So any happy ending is up for, not debate, but it could also change. Decades go by and things change. So
Totally. And I think there's also fun, it was fun watching this episode with everybody in the room, because then I could hear some reactions to certain things. And it feels like, you guys, Adventure Time went on so long. We've had Distant Lands. Now we're on season 2 of Fiona and Cake. This is really kind of like a fleshed out world and mythology. And there's both those big storylines and big characters that you can check in and stuff. But there's also just little references you can make. Like, I definitely heard some people gasping in the crowd when the snail went by Fiona's TV, or when the lion first shows up that Huntress Wizard is hunting / shapeshifting into. It looks like the Vampire King. Like, there are kind of these little riffs you can throw in there, right? Like, kind of riffing on the show's mythology.
yeah, but hopefully you don't have to know it. I never want it to be like, remember this over and over again. But I do like them as like being part of that world. And if you have seen them, then it might have a little bit more meaning to you, but it's not necessary as a first-time viewer.
Totally. Well, Roz and Madeleine, I wanted to ask you guys, you first played Fiona and Cake like 14 years ago, I think, at this point, for the season 3 Fiona and Cake episode, which was kind of...
Long ago?
Yeah, it was.
He's the one who double-checked for
I
me.
looked up my emails. I was like, when did we... Because I boarded on that episode, so I looked up when I got the outline, and it was like, it was the year before, so we recorded.
See, that's
I think
another thing. I was doing, a lot of that recording at that time. I was in New York on Broadway. So I was doing a lot. Thank you. I was doing a lot of the recording here by myself in whatever studio they picked.
Just like whenever you had time.
They would just call me and tell me to go to the studio.
But, looking back on it, what's it been like to take these characters kind of so far through all these years? Like Madeleine, you were saying you've kind of grown up with Fiona. And like I said, started as maybe could have just been a one-off episode of the original show. But here it's become its own show. You've got a whole crowd of Fiona and Cake fans here.
Was that
What does that kind of feel like?
good?
Yeah. What does that feel like, having been on that journey?
You know, I always had a hope that they would have a spinoff. Somebody mentioned it all those years ago, and I just thought, oh, you know, it's a dream. But it was a dream I think I held on to. And then during COVID, I had a dream that the show was happening. And then I did, and nobody believes me. It was uncanny. It was uncanny.
Was the cosmic owl there?
I had the dream, and then a few months later, I heard, and it was uncanny.
Awesome. And Roz, I don't know if you had a prophetic dream, but
No, I didn't have that dream. I just had hopes and prayer. I fell in love with this character from the very beginning because they gave me a certain freedom to just kind of help develop her. What was written on the page, like 75% of what's on the page and 25% of my interpretation of it.
oh, that's
And
awesome.
It turned into this sexy little cat.
Yep.
And now, even today, she had boobs. So I love her.
Yeah, I think we all love her in this room. And so yeah, Adam, you worked on the original Fiona and Cake episode. Is it also fun for you to have taken the characters this far after all these years?
Yes. No, I mean, I think at the time we didn't really think it was gonna keep going. I think it was gonna be a one-off, and like Natasha Allegri had done those designs, and Penn just kind of said, we should try to do an episode, and I think that was it. There wasn't like the studio pushing, but eventually they would push for like at least one episode a year, and it always became hard because we were like, well, how can we tell this with Fiona and Cake, because they are Finn and Jake in some ways. So why isn't this a Finn and Jake story? We always had to kind of justify why it wasn't a Finn and Jake story. So to kind of not have to deal with that as much, be free of that as a constraint has been really, really nice. And sometimes they let us say shit. So we still can't let Lemon Grab say fuck, but they can say shit sometimes. Am I supposed to not swear at this?
I think we're okay.
I was shocked the first time Cake cussed, I'm telling you. I wasn't mad, but I was shocked.
That's kind of the freedom of streaming service versus Adult Swim airing.
Yeah, because the original series was 6 to 11. It was a linear show, and yeah, for HBO Max, it's like a slightly different rating. So it's not like do everything, be as foul as possible, but
Right.
it is like if it naturally
What's
makes sense.
natural?
Yeah, and Roz swears a lot.
I do. But they let me. No, I don't. I don't swear a lot. She said a few words. Well, Cake doesn't swear a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything you want to tease for the people out here about what they can look forward to the rest of season 2? I think there's some hints of what's coming. Eagle-eared people may have heard a reference to a certain Flame DJ and maybe some new characters that we'll be seeing season
Adam
2.
has to do that. I want to keep my job.
Yeah, I think part of it is seeing more of the AU characters that we introduced before, and maybe even only saw in the background. So I think just being open to have that cast, because we only had like 2 or 3 episodes in Fiona's world last season.
Right.
And so a lot more of them are set there this season. You know, this is best be explained by a trailer, not me describing it detail by detail. But yeah, I think we tried to find a different mechanic for this season that was less the world hopping thing and more what kind of plane of existence can we show? God, that sounds shit. But
Sounds great. It
it's
sounds
about
great.
different
It's good.
different
Good.
dimensions as opposed to like different dimensions.
Right. Awesome. Well,
That part.
yeah. I think you set us up perfectly because we actually have one more thing to show you guys. You saw the first episode of season 2. Now you're also going to see the premiere of the season 2 trailer, which will tease some of what's in store and a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. But before we do that, can you guys please give a round of applause?
Who's the Ice King over there? He looks great.
Oh, there's so many characters out here. I wish I could see them, but man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's really hard for us to see on stage with the bright lights, but we see some of your great cosplays and costumes out in the audience.
We see you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for teasing season 2 for these wonderful people. I think now we can get off stage and let them watch the trailer.
Let's go.